after 12 years after leaving the military, I just entered a new phase of my life, and I got, as I say, stuck in that rut, and I thought, right, this is me. There's no way out of this.
You're going through shitload of trouble, and you're not happy, and you're mentally drained, and you're emotionally depressed. Talk to me about losing your father. What was going through your mind then?
Well, I had seen my father probably 4 months before he passed. Prior to that, we hadn't spoken. We'd fallen out, but then he fell ill to cancer. I don't want to be in a bed. I don't want to be in a chair. When I'm 75, 76, 80 years old, I want to be still strong enough, healthy enough.
Tell me about a challenge you faced as soon as you started your transformation. We don't hide this. This is not easy. But what about you? The challenging thing that you faced as soon as you started this journey?
I think actually...
Greg, a hell of a journey. 2
Yes.
years you've been training.
Yes.
Today we've done the reveal. It is a different person visually. I want you to take me back before you started and tell me what was going through your head and how long was it going through your head for, and then essentially what made you decide you want to change this reality back then.
I think I'd convinced myself this was me until the end of my life. I couldn't see a way out. I was just stuck in a rut, and I think after 12 years after leaving the military, I just entered a new phase of my life, and I'd got, as I say, stuck in that rut, and I thought, right, this is me. There's no way out of this. And yeah, I couldn't see a light at the end of the tunnel, and I just thought, right, I was accepting as I was, and I wasn't happy with how I was, but I just couldn't see how I could break that chain.
What other factors in your life contributed to that feeling? So when you say I was feeling stuck, what else was going on in your life that made you think like that?
So new job. So I'd left the military after 27 years. I didn't want to fail at a new job. I know there was a transition from the military to the civilian life, and I wanted to prove to my new employer that I was worth that chance taken with me. So I'd thrown myself into my work. I was commuting daily, probably 2.5 to 3 hours a day. And I was just focused on my work, and I wasn't really focused on me or my family or other contributing factors like that. I just wanted to succeed in my new life, in my new career.
So it was a question of priorities. And then in the midst of you trying to chase this new thing, the job, you forgot about yourself.
Yeah, totally. It was, right, get up, get dressed, get washed, get on the train, get to work, throw myself into work for 10 hours, get back on the train, get home, go to bed.
Did you have anyone in your life to give you the advice you needed at the time, which presumably would go something like this? You're Greg, you're gaining some weight, this is not good for your health, you need to do something for yourself as well as the job. Did you have anyone like that?
No, I didn't. I had myself. I knew where I was. I knew I was overweight. I knew I wasn't healthy and fit. But as I said earlier, I was just in that rut, and I couldn't see a way out.
And then, essentially, this is something I say to people a lot of the times. Most people need to be at rock bottom before they make this aggressive change, right? So if I say, a lot of people pitch this, I don't believe in it entirely. So if I said to you at the time, Greg, just go out for a walk every day. Just go out for a half an hour walk. Probably is positive, but was it going to bring about the change that you were hoping for? The answer is no, it would not.
Correct, yeah.
So the amount of motivation that you need, which is driven by the amount of pain that you were in, to do something as drastic as what you did. What was the tipping point for you? Because, again, presumably you were at rock bottom at some point.
Yeah.
And you couldn't just continue like this anymore.
No.
Walking into an environment like Reshape is pretty intimidating because it's an exclusive community, and from an outsider perspective, it's intimidating. So you must have had a big motive to walk into the environment like this, and the decision to go there and to say, this is it for me. What led to that decision?
It was after Christmas a couple of years ago. I just sat on the bed and I was just unhappy. I was tired. I was overweight. I was lethargic. Clothes didn't fit me well. When you went clothes shopping, I thought, I need a 44 waist or I need a 46 waist. Wow, really? And then I just think I sat on the bed. I looked in the mirror and I thought, no, you can't do this no more. This is not you, Greg. You can't become this and stay like this for another 30, 35 years, however, I'm left on this planet. And I just didn't like what I saw in the mirror.
Do you think most of us need to be at rock bottom to reorganize their priorities?
No, I don't think we do. I think we're so manipulated by media, by social media, written media, what's on our TV screens. Even back to school life, what you're taught to do health-wise, what you're told to eat, what's in the supermarkets to eat, the whole commercialism of food especially
Yeah.
is so important. And why, when I was at school, we still done cookery lessons going back that far, but they don't do cookery lessons. You're not learnt to cook for yourself. You're pushed to quick and easy.
Yes.
Grab this out the freezer, put that in the microwave,
Yes.
grab and go.
Yes.
And I found on this journey over the last 2 years, as well as the physical part, nutrition, sleep, water, nutrition is. And when I've been on this, people said, "Oh, you're on a diet, Greg," but I'm not on a diet. I'm just eating differently. I don't think there's been a couple of days perhaps I felt hungry, but if you eat properly, nutritious, dense food,
Yeah.
it's not a diet. You're just training your mind that you don't need the sugar. Yeah.
It's a complete brainwash.
Yeah.
Tell me about a challenge you faced as soon as you started your transformation, because we don't hide this. This is not easy. Like,
No.
people come through the door, and to achieve the kind of results that we put out there it really is hard, and we know that. But we're with people, so we try as much as possible to give them the support and the help, and the will done and the motivation when they need it, which is why they make it through. But what about you? What the challenging thing that you faced as soon as you started this journey?
I think actually starting the transformation, I know the coaches and yourself approached me and said, "Greg, how do you fancy it?" And I think if you guys hadn't come to me and said, "Greg, you can do this," I probably thought, I'll shy away. I can train hard, but I don't think I'd have thrown myself into it and volunteered for it. So that was the first thing, being identified, saying by you and by the coaches, Cloudy, saying, "Greg, you can do this. Take this on whatever's going on in your personal life at the time. Come here for an hour, lose yourself, listen to the coach, shower, and then get back into the real world."
Yeah.
So probably just accepting that I could do the challenge was the biggest start for me.
It sounds a bit like escapism. It sounds a bit like you used it to get away from everything that was happening outside of here.
Yeah. So, during my 2 years, and I'd lost my father, who I was very close to and hadn't seen a lot of in the first year. I'm going through a divorce at the moment, and that just wraps up your whole life. What comes in with a divorce? Where am I going to live? How financially am I going to cope? Where's my daughter going to live? Will we ever speak again? As my wife of 22 years, all that emotional and mental train of thoughts that occupies your life, and then still commuting to work, still working, and then somebody coming up to you saying, "Greg, how about a challenge? How about doing something for you that will take you away from all this just for an hour a day and apply yourself?" And it was like, sort of stepped back and thought, yeah, why not? Why not do something for you, Greg?
Did you doubt you could do it?
Initially, and then you get into week 2, week 3, and you're in a regime, and we spoke about that. I am quite regimentated because of my previous background. You get into it, and then you think, I've got another 8 weeks of this. This is going to be hard, Greg. This is a challenge. And we've all been through mental challenges, physical challenges, life-threatening challenges, but this is a challenge that I had to do for myself and apply myself. Wasn't me in the army where perhaps somebody in command was saying, "Right, Greg, do this, do that." This was me leaving the gym after an hour's workout, applying the nutrition plan, getting my 7 to 8 hours sleep in the night, getting up in the morning and doing a little bit of HIIT exercise. This was for me, and it was done by me, with obviously coaches guiding me.
Talk to me about losing your father. What was going through your mind then?
Yeah, so I hadn't seen my father. Well, I had seen my father probably 4 months before he passed. Prior to that, we hadn't spoken. We'd fallen out. But he reached out to my wife at the time, and Joe said, "Look, we need to see your dad, Greg. He's getting old of an old age." And we did. We made up, and it was great. But then he fell ill to cancer. And, yeah, just to see that man sort of just deteriorate, not move out of a chair, not move out of a bed for 5 to 6 months before obviously he took his last breath. And perhaps not realising at the time, perhaps that's all part of this journey as well. I thought, no, I don't want to be in a bed. I don't want to be in a chair when I'm 75, 76, 80 years old. I want to be still strong enough, healthy enough to walk around, hopefully have grandchildren, see my brother, see my sister, see my daughters. And again, that's probably a wake-up call to how somebody can deteriorate so quickly and have such a basic life after living probably 70, 80 years. And there is somebody there who, can't feed himself, can't drink himself, can't toilet himself. And I thought, no, this is not right.
It's not going to be you.
No.
I agree. You know what's funny? I'm in my 30s now, and I think about this now.
Yeah.
It terrifies the fuck out of me. It really does. And every time I talk to someone about this, I have to remind them, and also myself, that you're in control today. Yeah, sure, some people were healthy and fit, and then they fell victim to some sort of disease. But that's not the common thing. The common thing is we find our way into acquiring all these diseases by bad practices in our lifestyle. We could fix a lot of it now. If we make a few changes, we could fix it, and we don't have to be like that. But I guess human nature is you have to fear something. There has to be a certain level of urgency in order for you to make a sudden shift. I had a conversation with you when I heard about the fact you're going through a divorce. And I approached you and I said, this is the perfect time for you to do something for yourself. And at the time we had this challenge, where I was thinking about launching a challenge. And I said, Greg, if you can create a focus beside everything else that is going on for yourself, you'll look back, it will make everything easier in the meantime. And you'll look back when you're on the other side of this, and you will think, fuck yeah, I did it when it was hard. It's just so much sweeter this way. We here now, we've done the reveals. Everybody's jaw dropped in that room. It's an insane, one of the most amazing transformations that I've seen in my career. And you got a little bit emotional. Is it safe to say now, if you didn't do the challenge through these tough times, it would have been as easy for you to cope with?
No, 100%. This challenge in these last 2 years, left and right of the challenge, working outside of these challenges, just it's your whole mental, your physical. Yeah, it's hard to put it into words, but 100%. If I hadn't been in this gym for the last 2 years, not only working out in the gym, but I think the family, the community of Reshape, just coming here for 4 or 5 times a week for 1 hour at a time to be with like-minded people who have probably got their own situations in their personal life, who are all here for the same reason, but we'll all reach out and say, Greg, everything all right? How's it all going? I don't think if I'd have been part of this team, community, family for 2 years, yeah, I would have still been here, but I'd have been, well, if there's such thing as lower than rock bottom, definitely. I don't know what I'd have looked like, how I'd have felt, and what mental state I'd have been in, just to get up and go to work every day. I really don't, because being fit physically has improved my mental well-being so much, so much.
So I call this the zombie mindset, or the reverse of what you just said. And what it looks like is we've done something for so many years, and we don't think about it anymore. A bit like getting in your car and going to your usual destination, and you don't think about the road. You probably daydream for most of it, and you don't remember what street you took, whatever. You just found yourself at your house. This is a very much a zombie mentality. So you've been trained to do repetitive tasks in your job or in your life to the point where you're numb. You don't have to use your mind anymore. So by that definition, it doesn't really matter what's happening in the background or how you feel. You just get out of bed and you complete the same set of tasks that you do every day. Terrible idea. You're not living. You're not present. You're numb. Just like a zombie, walking around with no purpose, just completing the same things every day. And to live is quite the opposite. To live is to have a challenge, is to have something that you're growing into, something that is, adapting and changing with you. And what I pitch often to people when they come here with this mindset, The vast majority of people that I sit with, 40s and 50s, right? You've seen from the community. And they've done this for 25, 30 years. And I feel so sad and so sorry for them, because if this is all you know life to be, then how much potential are you actually leaving on the table? It's crazy amount of things you could achieve in your lifetime. And I don't care if you're, 20 or 70. There's a lot to do. So, when I approached you, the crazy mindset of you're going through shit load of trouble here, and you're not happy, and you're mentally drained, and you're emotionally, depressed, and we're going to throw another challenge at you. How do you feel about that? Do you know what stood out to me in that moment? It's faith. The way you approached it, because you had a couple of seconds to think about it. I don't know if you remember this the way I do, but you paused for a couple of seconds, and I think you were doing some calculations in your head. There's everything else that's going on, and there's what this guy's asking me to do, and you've been in Reshape for a while, so you know what the challenges are like. And you calculated for a few seconds, and you said, "Yeah, let's do it." It's kind of really insane when you think about it. As if, logically, what you're going through is not hard enough. I'm going to throw another thing in the mix to make it even harder for you. It doesn't make any sense. But most people don't understand the concept. The concept is, you lose yourself in the repetitive tasks that you do, yet you trained and programmed to do every day. And you really only feel alive and excited about everything else in your life, including the challenges that you're going through outside of working on yourself. They become easier. When you have a goal that is worthwhile for you, when you have a goal that makes you nervous and at the same time excited, when you have a destination that you're looking forward to arriving at, and your daughter was out there this morning, and as I was flicking through the pictures, I was just looking at her and how she's looking at them. And surely that pride moment means something to you. So your daughters, you have 2 daughters. I want you to tell me, how was the interaction with them throughout this? Because your daughters would obviously want you to be the best version of you. They would want everything good in the world for you. Unlike maybe a friend that can possibly get jealous, or a work colleague that might not be 100% honest. What was that interaction like throughout the journey? Challenges and transformation.
I think they wondered where the journey was going to end. That's, it engulfs, I wouldn't say it engulfs your life in a negative way, it engulfs your life in a very positive way, whether it's food preparation, whether it's being regimented and getting your 7 to 8 hours sleep. And I think they've just seen so much change from me, going from this lethargic sort of individual that sort of mopes around the house, who doesn't sleep well, doesn't rest well, doesn't eat well. And all of a sudden, week by week, they're seeing so much change and difference in me. And my daughter said today, she didn't realise how much she'd seen change, whereas perhaps people at work have commented over the last 2 years, they've said, "Greg, crikey, what are you doing? How are you doing it?" Because my daughter's been living with it, she's probably not seen the transformation as much. And you probably saw, when she saw those first photos go up, "Crikey, Dad, that was you 2 years ago."
Yeah.
But immense pride. They've been there, and, whether it's Christmas, Easters or birthdays, they say, "Dad, I know you're doing this, but Dad asked, 'Dad, can you eat this?' I said, 'No, not today. We'll plan it another day.'" And they've supported me behind that because they've seen the change, Yeah, even though it engulfs your life in a positive way. It's not negative at all. It's just, as I say, sleep, routine, nutrition, emotion, physical, mental. It's just amazing. If you could box it and sell it, and put it in a pill or whatever, or put it in a drug,
It's a good idea.
It's fantastic.
We've got some free drug market in Egypt. I might consider it. Okay, tell me about an inadequacy that you had to work on throughout the journey. Something that was highlighted in you that you needed to eliminate, work on to help yourself complete this journey.
I think for me, of all the factors that build into the transformation, probably nutrition was the one thing I had to really work on. In my younger years, I was a very poor eater. I didn't eat. I was what you call probably a beige eater when I was at school. Didn't eat meats really, apart from whether it was processed and wrapped in pastry and things like that. So, as we say, I'd be zombified. The word you've used, I was zombified on food. So having a nutrition plan and then cooking for myself and appreciating, I think you appreciate your food more when you cook for yourself and what goes into that preparation and cooking of the food. And nutrition's probably, of all the things, and I think you've said it before, getting to the gym's hard, but once you're here, it's fairly easy. Just listen to your coach. But outside, when the coach is not there, and you've got to plan your meals and stick to your food nutrition plan, that's what I've had to work on the most, I think. Because the temptation's everywhere. You know, whether you're out with colleagues at work for lunch or they're going over to the local supermarket to get a packed meal and things like that.
So, this hard work then, that you had to put into nutrition, you're organizing your day, prepping your food, perhaps finding ideas to cook. What is the outcome of that? What has that resulted in that you think is going to serve you going forward?
One, I can now produce a balanced diet with macronutrients, you know, whether it's the fats, the fibers, the protein, the carbohydrates. I now know I don't need all that junk and those big, huge meals to survive throughout a day. You know, the body and the mind and the human body, just you can survive and live well on such small meals consecutively throughout the day and not mess your mind up and your body up. And I'm now confident I could go into the supermarket, I can walk down the aisles and not sort of stop, pause and, oh, look at the chocolate aisle, look at the cereal aisle. And I know now what I need. You know, you need your carbs, a little bit of carb, you need your protein. And you know, I know where to get the protein from, the meats, the yogurts and things like that. And it's so much easier and simpler. It's not hard. But, you know, we go back to how we've been indoctrinated and zombified all through these young years of what we allegedly need, and we just walk past all the good stuff.
Now you know better.
Far better, yeah. And it's so much easier.
Yes, it's either than what they make out to be for sure, because they want to keep you away from all the right stuff. One thing that you want, let's start with your children, you two girls, and everybody else that doesn't know about this, about what you've done. What would you want people to know, and your kids? If you were to give your kids one advice based on what you went through, what would that be?
Just pause and just think of what you're putting in your body every day at every meal. You know, I'm 56 years old. If I'd have known now what I did at 15, 16, 18, 20 years old, of how food, different types of food affect, you know, your metabolism, your mental health, your physical health, is beyond comprehension. I would just ask my daughters, just, you know, before you go out for that drink or before you put that fast food in your mouth, do you really need it? Just, yeah, nutrition. Before you put something in your mouth, do you really need it? Does your body need it? And probably the answer, 99 out of 100, no, I don't. Yeah.
It's so profound to me, because I am everybody's nutritionist that come here. And the need word is really interesting, and it really stands out, because what you think you need versus what you actually need is completely different. And the problem there is, I think one of the big problems there is that people are never objective. Our choice of foods is just completely emotional. And you've made this idea in your head, such as, oh, that's what I always do, and therefore that's what I think I need every day. Or that's what everybody around me eats. Or that's what my family eats, and I just gotta eat the way they eat. Or my husband brings chocolate, or my wife loves to make cake and bakes, and all these little things combined will result in a lifestyle that will result in who you are. And I remember a conversation. I was in one of the commercial gyms. It was David Lloyd, and this guy come up to me and said, asking for advice, and he said, I'm doing everything right, but I just can't lose this. And then he grabs his belly, and I said, well, obviously you're not doing everything right, because if you were, that won't be there. But he's not seeing. He can see his belly, but he lacks objectivity on what leads to having a belly. And for you, and the same as everybody else, this advice is really valuable that you just gave, because pausing and thinking perhaps is the most valuable thing that you can do to gain some objectivity in what you're putting in your mouth. If you still feel like you don't have it, you can't quite lay down the structure and work out what's wrong, then talk to someone else that you believe know what they're doing. Otherwise, you continue to be stuck. You here now at a destination which you have to cherish, because it's been a lot of hard work and it's the opposite of what you struggled with for years. What is your fear? With everything that we cherish in our life, we have a fear. What's your fear now?
I don't. That's a good question, and I don't think I've got a fear. I'm in such a good place that emotionally, physically, mentally, that I know where I am now. I'll never revert back to where I was 2 years ago. It's just a different world, a different me, a different place.
What gives you that confidence, though? Let me ask you this in a different way. You were conscious, even though you had a zombie mentality, but you were conscious before. You're a grown man, you have a job, you've been through military, and you still fell into the trap or traps of what resulted in Greg, overweight Greg, lethargic Greg. What makes you so confident now that's not going to happen again?
Just having that self-belief, that self-motivation that food, sleep, exercise in its simplest form is so easy to do, and it's not hard. Once you're at that position you want to be at, to maintain it. And I just these last 2 years, just mentally how all those factors, whether it's exercise, food, water, sleep, how they all combine to give you a better life and a better, like you said earlier, you're living rather than surviving and just getting up in the morning and doing the day-to-day mundane tasks that you've been programmed to do for the last 20, 30 years. It is simple, or to me it sounds simple now because of the last 2 years, but yeah, nutrition, sleep, water, exercise makes you such a better person. Yeah, and mentally, we just spoke about the temptations, and I still get it at work now. When you're under pressure at work, and you think, crikey, I'm under pressure, right? You get up, and there's a vending machine in our office at work in the kitchen, and your mind is telling you, go and have a chocolate bar, satisfy that, and you're like that. No, it's tricking you.
This is not you anymore.
This is not me.
Yeah.
Walk away, go and have a glass of water. Have 2 minutes, right, get back at your desk.
You have succeeded to change the identity, your identity to yourself. Super interesting. A lot of people need a change of identity. You need to see yourself as a different person. And Greg, 2 years ago, would have not minded to go and grab that bar of chocolate and enjoy it. And now, this Greg just doesn't do that.
No.
Okay, so is there anything about this journey that you haven't told anyone?
I've not, less for my daughter. I've told a very good friend about the reveal. I've not told anybody about the reveal. Seeing the reveal, one part of me wants to show people, because I think, crikey. But me as a person, or perhaps me as a person 2 years ago, doesn't want to show them. But I think I should feel proud of where we've been and showing what you, and not so much for me saying, look, this is me now, but for them to say, look, this is what you can do.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a bit
You
of
know
change.
what makes this after great is the before. You take the before away,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean anything. It is the struggles. It is where you come from that really defines where you are today. It's just one doesn't go without the other.
Yeah.
And the reason you got emotional today, looking at the before, because you perhaps part of you couldn't believe or didn't want to believe that was you. But then when we revealed the after the transformation, it was, I don't know if you noticed this, but everybody stopped. Like, everybody's like, what?
Yeah, hang
What
on.
was that? And to be honest, I've seen it before today. But out there in the environment of the reveal, it kind of hit me right here.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of the most amazing things. What advice would you go back to old Greg and tell him? Let's start with one thing you regret. What do you regret?
Probably stopping physical exercise after I left the military.
How old were you?
44.
Okay.
Yeah, 44 when I left the military to go into the civilian life and civilian employment. Just I should have taken more of those good things from the military for me and take them with me in the civilian life. You know, I took the work ethic from the military into my civilian employment. I took other things, but what I didn't take is that self-discipline. And I just thought I could carry on eating as I was in the military. I could still do this, but I didn't put them all together. I understand now, and I keep going back to nutrition, food, sleep, how they all combine to make a better life for a person, you know, and a living person. And I think when I left the military, I still tried to carry on as I was, but without the exercise. And when you lose one segment of that pie,
Yeah, you have to be holistic.
Yeah.
So I guess the advice is, don't stop training.
yeah,
And the older you get, the more you need it.
yeah, just sit there and think, right, what good's happened to me? You know, for me, over 25, 26 years in the army, what do I need to take that? Right, I need to take my self-discipline, I need to take my physical, my work ethic, my drive, my determination, take all that with me. But obviously I let a couple of those little segments of that pie not come with me. And then we hit that rut, and then that zombie again.
Okay. Last question. Describe to me what your life going forward, or your life now as fit Greg, would be like, as opposed to overweight Greg back then. So to everybody that is watching but not living your life, and I want you to tell them, what's the difference between the two lives?
Chalk and cheese, left and right, however you want to describe it. I think just that the energy I've now got, for apart from the 7-8 hours you're asleep in the day, the other 16 hours, you've got so much energy, so much purpose, so much life, that if somebody comes to you, do you want to do this? You say, yeah, we can do that. And so much clear, no fog, so mental focus, physical focus. There's just no fog in your mind. You know where you are, you know what you want to eat, you know what you're doing. It's a lot clearer. Life seems clearer, I would say.
Amazing. Well, I'm very glad that we have been a part of what you've achieved, and I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
It is an insane transformation, and I can't wait for everybody to see it. And I'm guessing you're gonna have a few DMs. Yeah, why not?
Why not?
But yeah, I'm extremely proud of you. You have come a very long way, and not long. When you think about the amount of change that you've made, it is kind of insane.
Yeah.
And all I can tell you is that keep it going. Try to spread the truth. Try to inspire people around you.
Yeah.
And as you were trying to do that today. And continue working on yourself and continue having goals. Because every one of us has a purpose, knowingly or unknowingly. That's my honest belief. Even if someone is just living for the sake of something else, you still have a purpose. You're just not deliberately choosing what purpose you're working for. And all of us are the happiest that we can ever be when part of that purpose is us. The minute you forget about yourself, everything else goes south, and you're not happy and you're never going to be fulfilled. If you are the foundation of everything that happens in your life, then you have to look after yourself, or there will be no foundation for everything else. And I guess for every transformation that we do, a lot of people say this about their families, their children, their friends. They become different, and everybody feeds off them. This energy you're talking about changes everything and everyone around you. And if you as a person is not worthy of doing this for you, and I think you are, then do it for everything and everyone around you. Let that be your kids, your spouse, your grandchildren, whatever it might be. But never stop working on yourself and never stop having a goal, because it will keep you alive.
Yeah.
Amazing work, Greg. I'm really proud of you, and I can't wait for what's to come.
Thank you. And I'd like to say thank you to you, the coaches, and all of Reshape community. Because again, I know it's self-belief and it's got to come from yourself within to do this, but having like-minded people and good people around you makes it so much easier.
Thank you for the faith.
Thank you.